And Jalen Hurts is somebody who's continuously overcome the odds throughout his entire football career, continuously shut up the doubters every step of the way in his career. And they love calling this man a tush push merchant, where there's plenty of film, plenty of tape of this brother taking the ball 20, 30, 40 yards to the crib.
Facts. And just to add on that, you got the Hurts season, you got Hurts and Smitty. I got the Hurts poster right here.
Yes, sir.
Hey, anybody that watch Real Talk, whatever, see my stuff, y'all know how I feel. I feel like Jalen Hurts solidified himself as a top 3 quarterback, and he not 3 in this league. That's what I feel like with what he did in the Super Bowl in the biggest moments. Now, we've had a lot of great quarterbacks in this league. The Joe Montanas, Tom Brady's, Peyton Manning's, Aaron Rodgers, all these guys, Patrick freaking Mahomes. As great as all these guys are, they never had a signature move that the league was trying to ban. So not only if this play gets banned, am I looking at the Eagles and saying, all right, bet, show them why this is just so stupid and win regardless. But I'm looking at Jalen Hurts and I'm saying, bro, they scared of you. You can squat 600 pounds. They're really scared of you. And that should really elevate you higher in terms of the all-time great quarterbacks when his career is all said and done. Like, we're going to look back and be like, dang, y'all was up 34-0, 40-6 against the Chiefs. In that following offseason, all of these coaches that have won championships, have won multiple playoff games, have won a lot of games in this league, they're pleading to Roger Goodell and the NFL saying, stop this Jalen Hurts play. And I'm going to give respect to Jeff Stoutland and that offensive line. But we know this play did not start being something until Jalen Hurts got in the picture. So, you know, a lot of people, they didn't start watching Jalen Hurts and this team until 2022. They don't remember Jalen Hurts in 2021 when he was slim. And so maybe he was putting on like that bulk for the tush push. If they ban the play, I would like to see a shifty, a skinnier Jalen Hurts. I'm just saying, because that guy in 2021 was crazy shifty. I mean, that game against the Packers, against the Lions, we destroyed them, was running the ball amok all over them. If they're going to ban the play, hey, Hurts, maybe just slim down, like 20 or something pounds or whatever, and get back to, you're not going to be no Lamar, but hey, shoot, like, you can give Jayden Daniels a run for his money. Like, you was really one of them really elusive running quarterbacks, and he still is, but he kind of has more brute strength versus in the beginning of his career, he was really, really swifty with it.
Yeah, to your point, there's an infamous play, probably one of his most dynamic runs we've ever seen, the 2020 against the Saints, where he basically took it, he kept it, he ran out towards the right, then planted his foot in the ground, made the entire Saints defense just fall, and then he took it to the crib. I mean, and you're right. I was looking at an old interview of Jalen Hurts from that 2021 season where they lost to the Buccaneers in the playoffs. I was looking at that press conference, that final press conference. And I always like doubling back just to see, especially now that they won the Super Bowl, doubling back just to see what was the language they was using back then. Like, and it's so funny how Jalen Hurts just foresaw this for himself. He foresaw this for the Eagles. And I'm looking at how young he look in the face, how skinny his neck is, just a completely different human. And I'm looking at him now, looking at him in that Super Bowl final press conference. You know, he got the MVP trophy right here, got the Super Bowl Lombardi right here. I'm looking at him, I'm like, this brother really manifested that opportunity. He really manifested this success for himself. I mean, thinking about Jalen Hurts' success, thinking about everything he's been through in his career, right? What stands out the most to you about Jalen Hurts? Is it the leadership? Is it the dynamic of his play? Is it how he carries himself as a man? I mean, I believe you guys are in the same fraternity, right?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, shout out to the bros. I've said many times since 2022, and I said this before the first Super Bowl that Hurts did in 2023. I said the bros don't fold. You know, you remember Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated? We call ourselves the Bros, little nickname for us. And like we don't fold. And I've always looked at Jalen Hurts as a guy that when them lights get bright, he plays his best ball. I love that. That's my favorite thing about him. I love the leadership. I love his ability, to throw on the move, out of pocket, in the pocket. That deep ball is one of one, perhaps the best deep ball in the league. But Jalen Hurts' ability in big games to elevate his game to an MVP level makes him one of the best quarterbacks in the game. Because we see the flip side of it. Justin Herbert, he'll have his best games in the regular season. And then come to postseason, he turns into he fold, bro. He fold. He don't turn, or he turns into a quarterback that he never was. Like he had 4 picks in that playoff game against the Texans. He had 3 picks in the whole regular season. He folded when it came time to make the play and perform in the biggest game. Guys like Jordan Love, and he's turned over the baller. Tua is a September champion. Oh my God, he's one of the best quarterbacks in September. Who else in the
Tua is the best spring quarterback in football history. I mean, but listen, the moment it gets sub 40 degrees, the Miami Dolphins can't do nothing.
Can't do nothing. Another guy, Dak Prescott, is amazing in the regular season. We saw it last year. 2023 was amazing. Top 2 MVP candidate with no run game. I'll give my respect to him. But when it came time to perform in the playoffs, he folded. So what Jalen Hurts has done in the Super Bowl, he has a record with Joe Montana, bro. Multiple 35-plus point games in the Super Bowl. Only Jalen Hurts and Joe Montana. He had the highest EPA per play this past Super Bowl. He has the most rushing touchdowns in the Super Bowl. I mean, he has records on records on records. And again, I look at it like this. Lamar Jackson, how they talk about him in the regular season, that's what Jalen Hurts is in the playoffs. That's what he is. Now, if Lamar Jackson did what he does in the regular season in the playoffs, he would probably be a 2-time, 3-time champion by now. I'd rather have a quarterback that in the playoffs, in the biggest moments, they perform rather than somebody in September, October, November. They're amazing. Then come January, when either it gets cold or them lights get a little bit too bright, they go ahead and shrink.
But MJ, it's a super team. It's a super team, MJ. I mean, you got Saquon and AJ and Smitty. And I mean, last time I checked, we had those guys before the season started. And they still claim the Eagles wasn't going to make the playoffs. Still claim they wasn't going to win the division. Still claim they weren't one of the best teams in football. It's so funny to me how the narrative shifts when the results finally come to fruition. It's so interesting how the tide just turns. You feel me?
Yeah, how the tide turned. And you have Zack Baun, a guy that, let's just be honest, nobody in Philly, Howie did not think he'd be a defensive player of the year candidate. He showed up. I mean, I came into the season, I believed that the Eagles offense would be top 2. It would be them and the Lions. That's what I thought. And I thought like the defense would be at best middle of the pack. But I was like, hell, if we're scoring 30, 35, 30 plus points a game, if we're middle of the pack, we pretty much good. Actually, my expectations, they surpassed my expectations. The defense, they were not middle of the pack, not top 10, not top. They were the number 1 defense in the league. Guys like Nakobe Dean, who they wrote off. He had a breakout year before his injury. Nolan Smith, a guy that it was a lot of pressure on him because when Howie traded Hassan Reddick, he essentially said, I'm giving the keys to you, Nolan. What you going to do? And in the playoffs, he had a franchise record, 4.5 sacks or 4 sacks in the postseason. And he holds that record. And he's like, what, a second-year player? Yes. That is crazy. He's going to keep add on to that. The cornerbacks, these rookies. I remember they was saying beginning of the season, oh, Cooper DeJean, he's not ready. Why he not starting yet? Bro was injured. He was injured in training camp or in the preseason. That ended up delaying him a little bit. So, especially on defense, they can't be saying like it's a super team when they didn't come into the season like that. I compared it to basketball, bro. Like the Warriors in 2017, 2018, the Cavs 2017, 2018. Well, not really 2018, but like 2017. You knew the Cavs and the Warriors are going to the finals unless somebody gets a catastrophic injury. That was a foregone conclusion. That's a super team because you're going into the season already expecting this team to be great. But then when the Eagles are 2-2, and folks are saying Saquon's a bust, Hurts is a turnover machine, this defense can't stop a parked car. And then they go ahead, Nick shave his head and ended up turning around, and this team goes on a crazy run and they win the Super Bowl. Now it's they a super team? No. You can't have it both. You can't have your cake and eat it too, bro. You can't crap on us. And then when we win, now it's this is an amazing team. Like, we done the whole. What was the whole mindset they were saying heading to the Super Bowl, bro? It was if you stop Saquon Barkley and if you force Jalen Hurts to throw the rock,
it's facts.
That's going to. I heard so many times throughout the playoffs, each round, we had to hear it each and every round when we were winning. What's going to happen when they force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball? And in the biggest moment, in the biggest game, with the lights shining super, super bright, they forced him to throw the ball like we saw against the Steelers. And it was night.
And honestly, I feel like Hurts would have continued on that trajectory from the Steelers game, but he got hurt, obviously, and he missed the final few games of the season. But ultimately, you're right. I mean, this team throughout the playoffs, they kept saying, stop Saquon, and they really couldn't stop him. Then the Super Bowl comes, and Saquon isn't really able to affect the game in the way that we expected. But when you really put it in perspective, Saquon probably didn't get the rushing yards that we expected, but I really respected the Eagles offense, Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni. I respected them for sticking with the running game, keeping the offense on schedule. Saquon had, I think, 25 carries on the game. I think he had 29 touches total or 30 touches total in the game because he caught the ball. He caught the ball as well, and he blocked tremendously in that game, picking up blitzes. See, there's always the game within the game. And I feel like that's where Saquon was dominant. And he had key catches on third down. He had the one Bible catch that was pretty important and got us in the red zone, whatever. But like Saquon did his job in that game. He drew the attention. And Jalen Hurts just did what Jalen Hurts does. Turns up in the playoffs, turns up in the biggest games of his life. I mean, 2 Super Bowls so far in a row, he's outplayed their GOAT. He's outplayed their GOAT. And I mean in dramatic fashion, he's outplayed their GOAT in 2 separate occasions. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Jalen Hurts holds the record for the highest completion percentage in Super Bowl history, if I'm not mistaken. I think he passed Nick Foles for that. So, again, Jalen Hurts is somebody that deserves his flowers. Is always going to get his flowers from me, always going to get his flowers from you. But Saquon Barkley, doubling back to him. What an unprecedented season. Walk me through your thoughts regarding Saquon's impact throughout the season. Like, at what point did you say to yourself, "Oh, this man can't be stopped"? Was it the hurdle?
It was that, man. I gotta go back to his recent. Let me go back to the schedule real quick. I got it up because I knew the Packers game when he had 3 touchdowns. I was like, man. But I think I knew what it was. I knew what it was, bro. It was against the Saints when we all thought, let's just be honest. Most people thought, I ain't gonna say all, but most people thought it was gonna get bad. Our defense wasn't looking good. We are missing AJ and missing our offensive pieces. Smitty got knocked out, dirty behind hit. And Saquon Barkley in the fourth quarter opened it up with a 65-yard plus run to the crib. I was like, oh, I haven't seen this before. I haven't. And I like Swift. Shout out St. Joe's Prep. Shout out North Philly. Like, hey, I love Swift. Miles Sanders, he was a Pro Bowl caliber running back, but that type of home run hitter,
never seen it before.
Haven't seen that. We
haven't seen that since Shady.
We haven't seen that since Shady. And I think even Shady would say, I was nice. I'm an Eagles Hall of Famer. I'm one of the great running backs of this generation or in the 21st century, you know. But Saquon, different. And Saquon was showing that all season. So I think that Saints game, when I was just like, my goodness. And then each game against the Giants, he could have had his career high. He said, no, let the young guys eat. And then a couple of games later, he organically has his career high against the Rams. I mean, he's had times where, in the playoffs, he could have went ahead and had a 70-yard run to the crib against the Packers. Matt LaFleur talking about all this tush push stuff. We spared you. We spared you because we could have beat y'all by more. I
forgot about the run.
Saquon had mercy.
I forgot about that.
Like, come on. So I definitely think that Saints game, and going back to my initial thoughts when we acquired Saquon, like, I was all for it at the time. I was all for it. I thought, like, look, there was conversation of, do you bring back Swift or do you pay a little extra for Saquon? I said, well, look, if you're gonna pay, if Swift's market is like $8 million, and you're talking about Saquon's getting $13 million a year, like that's what his market's giving, you're gonna pay the extra $5 million. Like, you might as well do that because you're getting a superstar. And we saw if your whole team is right, offensive line in check, amazing coach and Jeff Stoutland, great quarterback, great wide receivers. I mean, it's easy. It's easy. And so there was a lot of talk, bro, because there were doubters, there were haters talking about some Saquon. He's been injured and he's not going to have that CMC-like impact, because that's essentially what Saquon was being compared to. Like, are you at Christian McCaffrey, go from the Panthers to the 49ers, and you saw his impact. Is Saquon going to have that same impact? I feel like unless you were a Cowboys hater or just simply never watched football ever in your life, you would say, yeah, Saquon isn't going to have a Christian McCaffrey-like impact. And actually, he didn't. He had a way bigger impact, had a way better season. It wasn't even close. And speaking of the tush push, if we gonna be fair, if we didn't have the tush push,
he should have had 20 touchdowns.
He probably having like 20 touchdowns. Yeah, and his MVP case probably would have been a little bit better. He might have been number 2 in MVP. For real. And so I just feel like his impact on this city, on this team, it speaks volumes. His character as well. It's like he's a leader that everybody in that locker room respects. How he cheers for guys with Kenny Gainwell getting a touchdown against the Rams, or it's Will Shipley getting that touchdown against the Commanders and the NFC Championship. So he's one of those leaders on this team already. He's already a all-time great Philly athlete. He stamped that this season. And I would like for next season for the Eagles to cut down his workload. Hopefully AJ Dillon and Will Shipley can step up more, because you don't want Saquon year in, year out having that same workload. Like, you want to go ahead and you sign this guy, I think, through 2029. You want to go ahead and have him, through at the very least 2027, 2028. You don't want to burn him out too early. So I love everything Saquon's about, bro, and he stamped himself as a Philly legend.